Okay, it's time that we bend that arc back to the benefit of not ourselves, but to our children, you know? And this is why I'm such, you know, an advocate for self-healing. And, you know, self-healing doesn't take place without also self-growth.
Yeah.
You know, because if you don't grow as a person, you probably will never step into the healing that you're seeking.
All right, guys, founder of Purium here today, David Sandoval. Thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, the pleasure is mine. Appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. I love the necklace, by the way. What does that represent?
So there's a story. I don't know if you want to hear it, but this is a sunrise show.
Okay.
And today is the birthday of the head of the Native American church that I belong to. And we were in a teepee ceremony, and it was my first one. And it came time to present gifts to the ceremonial leaders, and I didn't know I was supposed to bring gifts. And I was pretty humiliated as the other people from the church looked at me like, what's wrong with you? Like, you didn't know to bring a gift, you know? Well, the head of the church took this off of his own neck, walked over to me and said, today I give Dave a gift, right? This is the way of the church, you know? So the gift I was supposed to bring was actually given to me.
Wow.
And this is from him, the head of the Native American church in Kauai, Shane Johnson. And he put this around my neck and said, you know, it doesn't matter the gifts that you bring to the church. It's the gifts that you bring to humanity that I care about, you know, so.
And is that a big philosophy behind your company?
It is, yeah.
I could see that because all your products are super healthy, all natural. We were talking about how there's no plastics in them, right?
Yeah, not just no plastics in them. I'm the first company, and I don't mean this in a bragging way, so please don't take it that way. I'm motivated. That's the place I come from. I was shipping out 30,000 packages a month with 5 to 6 plastic bottles filled with the most nutritious food on the planet inside of those plastic bottles. And I couldn't sleep at night, knowing that I was putting 150 empty plastic bottles into the world a month for future generations to come. Now, if we think about ourselves as, you've heard of that term, the sins of our fathers, right?
Yeah.
Our forefathers, our great-grandfather, our grandfather, our father, and then ourselves. These forefathers have an impact on the next generation, right? This 7-generational where we sit right in the middle, below 3 and above 3. And every generation before us bent the arc of history in some way. They created the reality that we would grow up in because of the decisions they made. And it's the decisions that we make that will bend the arc of history for our children. And I am tired of living selfishly. Okay, it's time that we bend that arc back to the benefit of not ourselves, but to our children, you know? And this is why I'm such, you know, an advocate for self-healing. And, you know, self-healing doesn't take place without also self-growth.
Yeah.
You know, because if you don't grow as a person, you probably will never step into the healing that you're seeking as well.
Yeah.
Like your previous guest spoke of parasitical, you know, impacts. So we need to get rid of those things that are training our cells and replace them with things that will train our cells to live that long, vibrant life that we were, you know, intended to.
Right. Did you ever have to deal with parasites?
We all do. If we drink water, if we kiss somebody.
Oh, kissing.
If we eat fish, if we swim in a river or a lake. Yeah.
Wow, it's that easy to get them?
Absolutely.
Dang. Just whitewater rafting, you could get it from that?
Oh, sure.
Damn, I used to love that back in the day.
Oh, yeah, I live near some of the best whitewater rafting. I, you know, have an artesian spring on my land. I'm all about water, but with water comes parasites almost always.
Dang. Yeah. So they just live in streams of water?
Yeah.
Even the beach, the ocean?
Not as much as freshwater.
Oh, freshwater.
It's
okay.
mostly freshwater. Yeah, we have that salt in the ocean, which holds most of it down. And we have sharks that go and eat the dead stuff so that it doesn't spread in the water.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the ocean, man. It feels so grounded with nature out there.
Such a water person.
Yeah, I miss it out here.
Well,
desert out here, man.
We got to get you to that coast, bro.
I know. I just came back from the Bahamas. Beautiful. Oh, yeah. You ever been out there?
Oh, yeah. I love the Caribbean.
Bimini, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. Jellyfish in the ocean. I was catching them with my hands.
Yeah.
People were getting stung, and I was just picking them up.
So you have to make these agreements with nature, you know? I always tell the ants and the bees and whatever it might be. I say, I'm here temporarily, and I'd like you to share this space with me, but I'll be gone soon. I'll leave it back to you the way that I came and saw it. I won't disrupt it. And I don't get bit by red ants. I don't get stung by bees. I don't get, rattlesnakes. They just leave me alone because I let them know that I respect their space,
They could probably sense malicious intent, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because some people kill them.
The deer walk right up to me on my land.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. What about squirrels?
Oh, they're everywhere.
Squirrels used to run away from me. But I was a little troublemaker back in the day in Jersey. I grew up in Jersey.
Okay, I was on WOR and WWRL for many years.
What's that?
50,000 watt stations out of Manhattan.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What happened there?
All I did is I was on the radio, 50,000 watt station, right, prime time. I would flip on the switch and say, for 5 minutes, I'd tell them what was on my mind. Then I'd say, now it's your show. And people would call in and ask me questions about their personal health. And for an hour or two, I would answer those questions for years,
wow.
Day after day, month after month, year after year. And, I learned a lot about how people are suffering, and it really motivated me, to help them find the solutions to that suffering.
So you've been giving health advice for a while now.
I have, yeah, for 30, 35 years.
Wow. And what sparked that health journey for you? Did you have something traumatic?
I appreciate you asking, and, I hope you don't mind me sharing something, it's a little, I guess, raw, but I was homeless, and my auntie and my uncle, I was homeless by choice. I just want to let you know, it wasn't so nice at home. My dad drank, he was violent, my mom put up with it, and I didn't like her putting up with it. When I tried to stop it, they both were unhappy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was not wanted, so I made myself gone. Well, my aunt and uncle heard about that, and they invited me to come and live with them in Northern California, up in nature, And within 6 months, my auntie had died.
Damn.
After showing me what love was, after giving my own room, after giving me a car to drive, after buying me clothes that weren't from Value Village and had been worn by someone else first. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was amazing. And then she died. And the doctors who my uncle hired said that she died because at that time, microwaves were new. She was microwaving her dinners. What were called TV dinners were very popular. Fast food was very popular. Like they had the McDonald's Supper Club. I mean, it was just crazy how they were pushing this processed food on people. And my aunt, who wanted to spend time with her kids, not go shopping and cooking and cleaning and doing dishes and all that stuff, she wanted to be with her kids, not just serving her kids. And so she chose all those conveniences. And she was on the edge, the cutting edge of the people who suffered because of them. And I was so angry at that food that killed her that I never wanted to see anyone else's Aunt Judy die again.
Wow.
And I began to study things that other people didn't study. I read a book called, Silent Spring, written by Rachel Carson, that many people might or might not be aware of. And it alerted me to the fact that the chemicals in our food were killing us. And that just 100 years ago, there were 0 chemicals in our food. And today, less than 1% of food that we consume does not have chemicals.
Wow.
Less than 1%.
That's so low. That's unreal. I remember going to Burger King growing up with my dad. It was one of my favorite memories, but we had no idea we were kind of killing ourselves, you know what I mean?
I remember wanting to ride to McDonald's so I could steal some fries out of each bag before they got home, you know, and my brothers and sisters never knew that there were 4 fewer fries in each bag, you know?
Yeah.
We all grew up with those, those Slurpees at 7-Eleven and, you know what I mean?
The Frosty at Wendy's.
And, Kentucky Fried Chicken, man, they would put the smell into the neighborhood, You couldn't drive a block without smelling it, it'd draw you in.
Yeah.
So we have these instincts as humans, imagine that we're, living 10,000 years ago and we're looking for food and we look out on the horizon and what do we see? We see yellow or orange or blue or red. What is that? That's food, right? That's food. And our minds know it, and we know it instinctively that we get there and we will be nourished. You know what they did? Look at every sign at McDonald's and Burger King: red, orange, yellow, and blue. The colors that our brains associate with nourishing us and making us healthy, they've stolen and tricked our minds into craving foods that do not look like the colors on their signs. There's no food that looks like the color on their signs.
Yeah, good point. It's all processed.
But we see it with our brain and we associate it with eating, and then we go and we take what is not. It's the ultimate bait and switch.
Yeah, a lot of them use red. In-N-Out, McDonald's, KFC. Wow. That's crazy. They're
Yellow,
really good at the
orange,
marketing.
red. Yeah.
They know the subconscious marketing
They do.
behind it, and they're using it to their advantage.
Absolutely.
And it's so cheap and quick, you know.
The only way they make money is by saving money,
Right.
you know? So, yeah.
And they're tied to big pharma. A lot of the investors in big food are investors in big pharma.
Well, let's face it, if one product that you sell to makes money leads them to another product that you sell to make money, isn't that good for business? And that's why people ask me, you know, what do you think about free enterprise? I said, well, it's not free. No freedom is free. All freedoms have to be fought for. They need to be protected. They need to be defended, and they need to be practiced. If you don't practice your freedom, it will be taken away from you.
Yeah.
You know, it will. And so if you stop having freedom of choice of your food, less than 1% of the food now is organic. Less than 1% of the food that we eat can be considered healing food. And the rest of it actually is a burden on our body. And so I have a philosophy that 95% of the suffering that is happening is not a symptom, okay? It's not a symptom of a disease or an underlying condition. It's a symptom of our societal eating habits. It's a symptom of hydrogenated oils. It's a symptom of food colorings. It's a symptom of preservatives. It's a symptom of all of the processes that go into creating fake food. And when you look at food, the original fast food was food you could pull off of a tree. And now it's something you drive through and order from a clown, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't mean the person on the other end of the microphone.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Jack in the Box.
It's crazy. So that being said, what diet have you ultimately landed on? I know you've experimented with many of them.
So many. You know, obviously, I've tried it all. I went from being a vegetarian. From vegetarian, I went to being a vegan. From being a vegan, I went to being a raw food vegan, eating only living food. From that, I went to being a fruitarian, only eating food that naturally fell off of a fruit and was ripened by nature. That was hard.
I
But you
bet.
do learn a lot of things, that almonds are fruits and tomatoes are fruits and avocados are fruits. You learn every fruit, you know, because you need to have a variety in your diet, you know.
Yeah.
And then I actually did something unusual. I went on a sunlight diet where I actually consumed sunlight for my nourishment for over 16 months. Well, over 15 months, almost 16 months, I meant to say, because I was monitoring everything, you know, intimately. And during that time, I did lose a lot of weight. And I believe I lost a lot of toxic waste in my body. And I got down to about 120 pounds. I'm 180 now, just to put that in perspective. So I lost 60 pounds, even though I eat healthy now. And it taught me a lot. Mostly it taught me that we are fed by sunlight, even if not directly as I was trying. It's the sunlight that's transmutated by plants, transmutated by nature, and selectively empowered with different enzymes, phytonutrients, pigments, those yellows, blues, reds, oranges that we spoke about, right? Every band of sunlight actually gets interpreted by plants and then delivered to humans who have the intelligence to seek them out. And so I decided to connect people to sun energy, you know, to connect people back to this solar system where all of our life relies upon sunlight. Now, if you think about it, if it wasn't for photosynthesis, am I taking too much time?
No, you're good.
Okay. If it wasn't for photosynthesis, transmutating that light, there would be no oxygen. Because it's only through photosynthesis that water, sunlight, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, these things are chemically transmuted into oxygen that we could breathe, and makes all of the life that we know of, which is aerobic. Only 1% of life forms on Earth are anaerobic. So that means that 99% of life relies upon oxygen. That means 99% of life relies upon photosynthesis. And yet we ignore that. And you look at the human blood cell, and what does it look like?
Circle.
Chlorophyll.
Yeah.
The iron and the magnesium might be slightly differently bound, But the reason why is so that green foods could release magnesium. Before we started the show, I told you how magnesium drives the parasympathetic muscle activities, our breathing, our heart, our eyelashes, our eye, everything.
Right.
And so it all comes back to green food. It all comes back to photosynthesis. It all comes back to the sun, And so this understanding that we can transmutate sun energy and create the energy that is life force for our bodies is something that most people are so disconnected from. And it's my mission to reconnect them to that. Because I met Jean Clement when she was 119 years old.
Wow.
And she lived to be 123, almost 124. And yet I lost my father at 62 years old.
Damn.
So why did she live twice as long as him? I want the world to know. I want the world to know that they have so much more than the average lifespan in the United States of 74 years old for a man and 78 for a woman. When Jean Clement lived to be 124, where did our 50 years go? Who stole our 50 years?
Yeah, because our telomeres are programmed to live to 120, right?
That's right.
But the average lifespan is 40 to 50 under that in the U.S.
And you could exceed the 120. It's been done multiple times.
Oh, yeah?
But yes, we are designed, and here's how we know this. Because studies done on, autopsies done on people who were 60 years old and died, only had half of their expressed testosterone, half of their expressed stem cells, and half of their expressed, I can't think of the other term, but it's basically your life force, right?
So they only used half of it.
They've only used half of their regenerative ability, and they're 60 years old, which means that genetically they were meant to live to be 120. And here's the funny thing is, and here's what's crazy is I listened to your 2 previous shows, and you asked the best questions, and I won't shut up. So I better be quiet and let you ask some of those awesome questions.
No, you're good, man. I'm into this stuff. Your vitamin D levels must have been off the charts when you were living off the sunlight.
Oh, yeah. 40 minutes, in the mid-morning, hands open, face. 80% of your solar collecting ability is in your face and these palms of your hand.
Oh, yeah? So it's good to leave your palms open.
Just leave your palms open, and your face, you could be fully clothed as long as your palms and your face are exposed.
That's good to know, because I like to get some sunlight in the morning.
Especially in the winter, and now you can.
Yeah. My vitamin D was super low.
And you know what seasonally adjusted daylight disorder is, of course.
What's that?
It's sun deficiency, and it makes you depressed, and it lowers your immune system.
Oh, yeah, they call it seasonal depression, right?
Yeah, seasonally adjusted daylight disorder is SAD as an acronym, but that's the official term. Yeah.
A lot of people in Jersey had that because the winters are pretty long.
So I've lived in Alaska and Norway.
Wow, how was that?
The sun rises at 10 and sets at 6. So you don't have many chances to get that sunlight. And even there, I taught people to grow window box gardens to capture the power and energy of the sun in the windows of their apartments so they could eat fresh microgreens and still get that sun energy.
Interesting. And what was the overall mood of people in those colder climates?
Definitely, you saw a lot of people just stay at home, Now, here's the coolest thing, is that some of the happiest people in the world are Scandinavians because of, I believe it's called Hugo, but you can look up the name. It's this staying inside around the fire, talking about things, not watching television, eating homemade meals. And part of that is because of those long winters. So everything that takes away also gives.
Right.
You know what I mean? Those long winters make families a lot closer, and that leads to better knit societies, which lead to more happiness. So you've got, that's what takes away also gives.
Interesting. Yeah, it's based off your reaction to it, right? Because you could take it 2 ways. You could be super depressed, or you could get closer.
Or you could just snuggle in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Are you still taking Egyptian wheatgrass?
So the Egyptian wheatgrass is critical for me because it's the most ancient food that we know of. It was food that's been traced all the way back to Noah's Ark.
Wow.
And so this unchanged food, this food that hasn't changed in thousands of years, is really important to me. These heirloom foods are also available, though, in many, many ways. So kamut is the ultimate heirloom grain, and I grow wheatgrass out of it, that thing that I lived on, for that time.
Yeah.
And I think it's phenomenal. So yeah, it's still part of my daily regimen.
That's impressive. So what fruits and vegetables are still from their original form that you see in the grocery store today?
So first of all, as you said, seeded foods are really important. Now, don't get confused with seedless watermelon. That's just a young watermelon. The seeds are still there. They just haven't turned black yet. Some people think that that's some genetically modified thing. It's not. But other unseeded foods, like your grapefruits, right? Your oranges, your tangerines, those things like that. I mean, just think about that. I'm going to tell you something that is really cool and interesting. If you have a tree of seedless grapefruit, do you know that 99% of those are going to be seedless, but 2 or 3 of the fruit will actually have every seed that was supposed to go into the other fruit. So you'll have a fruit that if you cut it open is thousands of seeds.
Wow.
It is solid seeds, like a water balloon just stuffed with seeds, because nature will not be denied. That tree was going to produce 4,000 seeds. And while they're not distributed 5 in each fruit, all of them are now in 2 fruit. That tree was not going to be denied.
That is so fascinating.
It is.
So why do you think it does that?
Because nature is way more powerful than mankind.
Wow.
Nature's been doing what it's doing, dictated by the perfect movement of the sun for billions of years. People wonder whether the earth is going to survive. Of course it will. Will we survive? We are in the 3rd generation of a 5-generational erosion of our ability to survive as a species. Our DNA is being eroded. Our DNA is being deteriorated. And the only answer is to start to practice epigenetics to rebuild the strength of your genetic material. Not just for you, but for your children and the children that will come multiple generations. It's been scientifically proven that having glyphosate in your diet could cause autism in a child 4 generations down the line.
Holy crap.
Not necessarily your children or your grandchildren, but your great-great-grandchildren could suffer because of the sins of our fathers.
So it stays in you that long.
Our fathers.
Damn.
The wisdom that comes that we don't even understand the words. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now we do. So, yeah, so this is really critical that people understand epigenetics and the fact that every gene has multiple potential expressions. Your genes are not a script that was written and you're just going to play out, you know, this movie over your lifetime. And, you know, that's not the way genes work. Genes have multiple potential expressions. I was supposed to be 6'2", but I smoked a lot of cannabis as a kid. And that inhibited my growth.
Really?
Well, I grew up in the ghetto, and it was available when I was 14, and between 14 and 20, I smoked a lot of it, and that's what I was supposed to be growing.
So that stunted your brain development?
Stunted, not my brain, my bones.
Oh, really? Cannabis does that?
My brain expanded. It's my body that was, you know.
They say lifting weights, too, at a young age.
The bottom line is, yeah, I mean, you look at young girls who are in gymnastics or track, and then they don't produce the right hormones to develop as women and bear children. You know, everything we do has an impact on our genetics, physical, mental, emotional, the water we drink, the thoughts we think, but mostly the food we eat. And we have compromised food. We will have compromised genetics. I think it was Daniel 128, but I'm not positive, that said a compromised tree cannot bear uncompromised fruit. If we continue to eat from compromised trees, if we continue to eat compromised food, how could our genetics be uncompromised?
Right.
And how could we not understand that every single thing we put in our lips and chew and put in our body is going to impact, maybe not tomorrow or next week, but what about when we're 50, 60, 70, or 80? Will we even live to be 50, 60, 70, or 80 because what we did when we were 10, 20, 30, and 40?
Compound effect.
Excuse me.
I just found out recently the average height's gone down a lot. Isn't that crazy?
Because of malnutrition.
Everyone used to be my height like hundreds of years ago. That was the average height.
Do you know Hawaii? Do you know that King David was nearly 8 feet tall?
Whoa.
Yes. Kamehameha was like 7'6". That Queen Liliuokalani was 6'9".
Wow, a female was 6'9"?
Yeah.
Impressive.
I'm sorry, 7'9".
A female was 7'9"?
Yes.
That's a world record.
The Hawaiian people were very, very, very tall people. but then they interbred with the Philippine.
And they're short.
And they're not so tall. And the average height of the Hawaiians came way down. But yeah, it's absolutely, you look at African nations where it's not uncommon for 7-footers, you know. But our nutrition is directly related to our development mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Right.
Now today, if we could pivot just a second to these compromises in our food that are causing these diseases, not disease, I mean, not disease, but disease. And all of these little diseases add up and eventually erode our quality of life and wear down our immune system. And so I've been teaching and practicing epigenetics for a long time. And if I could brag for just a second, I don't like to talk about myself so much as the needs of people. But in 1993, the years prior to that, I was considered a pariah. I was trying to tell people that they could like battle disease with food, and the medical community didn't like that. Well, in 1993, the National Cancer Institute completed a 10-year study, and they created a word called phytochemical. And phytochemical was a chemical in food, phyto meaning plant, from the land. Phyco is a plant from the ocean, but phytochemistry was learning what plants affected the body in certain ways. Well, Inc. magazine, a financial magazine you're probably familiar with, they called the National Cancer Institute and said, okay, we know what you're doing at the National Cancer Institute, and it's amazing, but are there any entrepreneurs who are ready to bring this to the world? And the National Cancer Institute said, well, yes, and they named me. In 1993, now what is it now? That was, whatever that is, 30 years ago, right? And they said that at that time, they said, not me, said that I knew more about healing with food than other people in the world.
Wow.
I knew nothing then compared to what I know now. You know? And so I've been on this pathway for a long, long time. And, you know, it takes some time to become a master of something. Some say 20 years. I've been doing what I've been doing for 40 years. And so I believe that I've mastered things that other people could really benefit from. And I've done it in a way that is an entrepreneurially rewarding way, so that there'll be a financial motivation for people to help spread good news instead of bad news.
Right.
So there'll be a financial incentive for people to eat good instead of bad. So it'll become cool for people to have something in their hand that might be green or blue or red, as opposed with nature, as opposed to those colors, you know, that could actually cause cancer.
Yeah, it's a win-win the way you set it up, because some brands will give affiliate commission on really bad products, right? Like poor quality products. But for you, you're helping people, so you're also rewarding them.
So when I was selling in health food stores, do you know that the health food store takes a minimum of 40% of the retail price? 40%. And then the distributor, check this out, the distributor who brings the food to the store, they charge a minimum of 15% for that service.
Wow.
And then you've got a salesperson who goes into the store, tries to get them to sell your product, they make 10%. And then you hire the jobber. He's the person who comes in and makes sure that your product is in the right position, that the signs are right, that you know, that the store knows about it. So you're now paying 78%, not counting advertising, not counting shipping, not counting slotting fees, not counting trade shows, not counting anything. And by the time you're done, you're left with 6 cents out of the dollar for the nutritional product you see at GNC, for the nutritional product you see at Vaughn's or whatever other, you know, pharmacy that you go to.
That's messed up.
And you look on the side and all the nutrients say USP. You know what that stands for?
No.
U.S. Pharmacopoeia. Means they were made by a pharmaceutical company.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So everybody goes, don't trust vitamins unless they're USP. Biggest lie ever told. Don't trust vitamins unless they're nature. Right? So you look at, you know, we were talking earlier, I was listening to your interview. Our pineal gland is being calcified by electronics, by 5G, by the food that we eat, right? And I was approached by, I won't say his name, but he has 40 million followers year round. He's from India, and he teaches meditative prayer. And he said that people could not meditate, they couldn't pray, they couldn't even make love because they couldn't connect any longer because of their calcified pineal gland.
Wow.
Birth rates are going down, right? All these things. He said, please help me with this formula. And he gave me this formula. But I couldn't complete the formula because I couldn't put monatomic gold into a formula and have it approved by the FDA.
Wow.
So I found a shilajit that was very high in monatomic gold, high enough to meet the formula standard created by this Sai guy.
Yeah.
Right? And it took me 4 years to create the formula. Shilajit, iris sea moss, hirataki, right? You know, hirataki, the master herb in Ayurveda. And this is 5 different specific herbs brought together in different ratios, extracted in a very, and we call it pineal clear. The people who take it never say, they never forget what they walked into the room for. They're able to sleep deeply, dream vividly, have deeper connections, and most importantly, see people for how they really are.
Wow.
And almost everybody that started taking it has not lost 4 friends, but readjusted their perspective about people in their lives in such a way that they have healthier relationships than they've ever had, setting boundaries they never were able to before, right? And speaking their truth like they never have been able to do, finding their voice and not being ashamed.
That's incredible.
And I know that you've been exposed to many of these things already, you know?
Yeah.
But imagine them all in one place, extracted and designed to where it has, you know, the gold and the shilajit and the
nice and easy
moss and all of that together.
Is it a powder or is it a pill?
No, it's a liquid.
Oh, it's a liquid.
Just drop it in. It's pretty strong tasting, but if you ever took those things individually, you know how strong tasting they all are.
I've had some nasty parasite cleanses, so
Yeah,
I'm aware.
So when you do the ultimate lifestyle transformation, we actually give you the parasite cleanse as an addendum because we know how important that is to actually absorbing the nutrients.
Nice.
So if you know about parasites, they have a 20-day incubation. So you take the what we call super cleanse R, you take that for 10 days. And during that time, you could physically see things, you know, that come out.
Jeez.
Not that you want to, but you can. And then you wait 20 days and you go back for another 10-day cycle and you flush out all those that may have been in the incubation stage while you were cleansing the ones that had already, you know what I mean, that were already alive.
That's where I messed up. I didn't do that second part.
You didn't do the second. See, then they could come back stronger.
And that's probably what causes the eye twitch too and some other stuff.
Some of the other things, yeah.
Damn.
And so what we've tried to do is understanding that 95% of suffering isn't symptomatic. It's actually, you know, we just got to eat better.
Right.
Sounds too simple, but it's true.
Sounds simple. And there's this misconception that you need a ton of money to be healthy and eating well. But what would something like this cost for people watching to?
So check this out. $12. I have a program for $3 a day, all the way up to $20 a day, $30 a day. If you're an elite athlete, like these people that work at Cirque du Soleil and stuff like that, they actually use that $30 a day pack. If you're on the lower end of the economic spectrum, you could take a $3 a day pack. The ultimate lifestyle is $12 a day. I know people that spend that on fast food drive-through. I know people that spend that on 2 Red Bulls. I know people that spend that on cigarettes or pot or beer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just tell them to switch their spending, transfer your spending, and you don't spend a dime. In fact, most people report that when they're doing the ultimate lifestyle transformation, they're able to get rid of many habits that they've wanted to and couldn't without even trying, that they save more money than they spend by far. I just helped one person who told me, he said, Dave, I can't afford your beet juice. I said, what do you mean you can't afford my beet juice? I said, you drink 2 Monster drinks a day. He goes, yeah, but I buy them by the case, so I save money. I said, well, what are you paying for them then? He goes, like $3. I said, so you're $6 to $9 a day still, Mike. That's still $6 to $9 a day you're spending on Monster Energy. You could get an entire ULT for $12 a day, right?
Yeah.
So he didn't do the entire ULT, but he did start buying the Can't Beat This. Now for $3 a day, he's having 2 Can't Beat This drinks. It's totally different because it's healthy for his heart, healthy for his brain, and it's like Viagra, man.
Beats?
You know? Oh yeah.
Oh wow. I need to start shaking that.
I mean, you don't need testosterone. Not that you shouldn't have it, because you should. I'm just saying that, you know, the beet juice gives you vascular integrity, which means that your cell walls stay firm and strong, and the oxygen, the nitric oxide that flows in, stays there and doesn't flow in and then leave.
I need that because I took a VO2 max test recently, and the results are pretty bad.
We're gonna rock you, bro.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Beet juice, baby. I heard watermelon juice.
I've added like Siberian ginseng. I've added some other like adaptogenic herbs to where it's just a super brain body, you know, maximizer. For less than you'd pay for a Red Bull, less than you'd pay for a Monster Energy. And it's so much better for your body. So this thing of epigenetics, not just how your body reacts in the short term, right? But how your body reacts in the long term.
Yeah.
And this is what epigenetics is just designing your future, designing how you will age.
Yeah. Have you seen the soil stuff where they're losing all the nutrients, like 80% compared to our parents' generation?
So I absolutely have, and that's why I'm a regenerative farmer. Do you know that our packaging from our product makes soil better?
Really? It's biodegradable?
Biodegradable, plant-based packaging, and we have science that proves that when you use it in your compost, it makes your compost better.
Wow.
That's how holistic we are, okay? Now, some people say I'm a liberal. Is that really true just because I want better for our children, because I want to stop poisoning ourselves? And the reason they call me a liberal is because they say, well, why are you against all these big corporations? Well, these big corporations are the ones harming us. And so it isn't about being liberal or conservative. I'm neither. I'm an advocate for life. I'm an advocate for clean water, an advocate for clean air. I'm an advocate for clean food. I'm an advocate for our children, where 40% of our children are predicted to have autism within the next 5 years.
Wow.
Look up the statistics.
That's crazy.
Now, I have a free book called The Toxin That Came to Dinner. Anyone could Google it and download it for free. The Toxin That Came to Dinner. And in there, I will document and show you all the ways that we're suffering because of the chemicals in our food. And a direct correlation between the chemicals in our food and when they started using them, and we started noticing an increase in these diseases. And then the systematic increase in the use of those chemicals and the identical increase in those diseases, from autism, Alzheimer's, and arthritis, and we're still in the A's. And it's real and provable. Monsanto had to pay out billions and billions and billions of dollars because it was proven that this stuff causes fatty acid liver disease and all these other cancers.
Was that the raid?
That was the Roundup.
Oh, Roundup, yeah.
Yeah, Roundup.
And they still sell those in stores. I see it every day.
And on the commercials, they show somebody having so much fun spraying it, but on the label, it says, don't use without protection.
Crazy. I used to use it as a kid.
Crazy.
No protection.
Yeah.
Do you think you could get rid of that glyphosate buildup?
So,
because you said it lasts 4 generations.
I appreciate your question, because when I found the problem, I started looking for the solution, and I actually spent my own money doing a double-blind clinical study in the United States that proved that my solution to toxicity of glyphosate actually worked.
Wow.
In 6 weeks, I could reduce glyphosate by 74%.
Nice.
And you know what glyphosate does? It causes inflammation, and that inflammation causes disease, inflammatory bowel disease, right? Inflamed liver, kidneys, all of that. So C-reactive protein is a biomarker that indicates how much inflammation is happening in your body. C-reactive protein is almost impossible to reduce. You go through chelation therapy for months and spend thousands of dollars to reduce it 5 or 10 or 20%. We reduce C-reactive protein 75% in 6 weeks.
Wow.
Now, if you're worried about arthritis or your heart or your liver or anything, then you're going to want to lower your C-reactive protein. So I'm a solution-oriented person. I think I told you that I did radio in New York City for a long time. And I wrote down every question I ever got.
Wow.
Every question I ever got. And then I documented them, and I realized that people are suffering from about 45 different things. And they describe it in 45,000 ways, right? And so I actually came out with a chart, and I have people self-identify, and they're like, okay, yeah, that's me, that's me, that's me. And then I recommend my top 3 nutritional products.
Smart.
And I guarantee that within 90 days, if that symptomology isn't gone, I'll give you your money back.
Wow. You're that confident.
That confident.
Has anyone asked for their money?
We have the lowest return rate. The lowest return rate in our industry by half.
Holy crap.
The return rate in network marketing nutritional products is 5%. Ours is less than 2%.
Nice.
And that's a fact that can be proven.
That just speaks to your quality then.
And most people, you know, they don't just take it. They take it again and again and again, order it month after month after month.
Which is a great sign.
And they adjust. They look at that chart and they go, okay, well, my, arthritis is pretty much taken care of. I think I'm going to move on to my heart or, or whatever it might be. But there is no problem, as it was once said. Problems are just the lack of a solution.
Yeah.
There's no darkness. It's just a lack of light. There's no evil. It's just a lack of love. There's no cold. It's just a lack of heat. We keep focusing on the lack instead of the abundance.
Yeah.
And Mother Nature gave us this abundance of healing, and it's right underneath our feet. So to answer your question about topsoil, our topsoil has been measured at 99 feet deep. We have an ancient volcanic lake bed that gathered all of the decaying, dying fish and shells and minerals from all the runoff of the mountains for centuries.
Wow.
And when it dried up, we turned it into a farm.
Beautiful.
It's amazing.
I have a farm in my backyard because I'm seeing all these crazy stats on the fruit quality in the grocery stores, how they're just reusing the soil and it's like not as nutritious.
Absolutely.
So I'm just growing my own fruit and vegetables now.
I have a remediator that you could put in your soil, and even if there's chemicals in the soil, it won't go into your plants.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I don't use any chemicals.
Yeah. No, but I mean, they might have been in there from whoever was here.
Oh, probably, yeah.
They last for decades.
Damn, so the fertilizers last for decades?
So I had a friend who was the most holistic mama you'd ever want to know. And one day, she rushed her son to the hospital, and he was suffering from seizures. And it turned out her neighbor had sprayed Roundup along their fence line.
Whoa.
Right along the fence line. And their baby crawls in the front yard and goes up against the fence and tries to play with the dog that's in the other yard, and was breathing, had their face right next to all those chemicals that he had just sprayed, and her child almost died.
Holy crap.
Even though she was doing everything right in her household. You never know what your neighbor's doing.
Right.
So I'm just saying that, it's really important to have a trusted source of food. At again, talking business a little bit, I produce every product that I sell. I don't trust other people to do that. I have relationships with every farmer that I buy the ingredients from, or I control the farms myself. And we have HPLC, right?
What's that?
High spectrum chromatography and liquid chromatography, just to be specific. That's what the L is. And the high spectrum liquid chromatography is the most sensitive equipment in the world. Ours is 3D and multicolored as well. So it expresses itself in color too. And if I test an ingredient and there's even 1/10 of 1% or less, 100th of 1%, that is not wheatgrass, that is not carrot juice, that is not broccoli, I will know it.
Wow.
We screen for hundreds of chemicals. Our food is the purest on the planet. I'm not saying that there's not food as pure, but there's nothing more pure.
Hence the name Purium.
Yeah, well, Pure and Premium had a baby and was named Purium.
I love it.
So
and it's affordable too. I'm impressed that you've been able to pull this off with affordable pricing, like $5 a day. That's incredible.
And the reason why is because we're a family-owned company. The owners don't. So just to be honest with you, I'm in the business of building wealth for other people. Health and wealth is my business. And I promise, that my intentions are not to line my own pockets and get richer. I learned a long time ago that money is not the answer. That what is more fulfilling is the thousands of letters I get from people saying that my child was nonverbal and it started talking. My husband was on 5 medications and now he's on none. My daughter had CPOS and now she could have a baby. I get these letters every day.
Wow.
And this is my oxygen. My oxygen is helping stop people from suffering unnecessarily, showing a pathway toward wellness that they never imagined possible, and having them take responsibility. In Ayurveda, we say if you keep up, you'll be kept up. I think you were just talking about a similar concept with a guest just before me. So if you look at a herd in Africa, right, and they're moving along, the small animals, they have to keep near the pack. And if they keep up, they'll be protected.
Yeah.
But you know what happens to that one that falls behind, right? Don't be that of humanity. Don't be the ones that fall behind and cannot be kept up. And in Genesis 1:29, it says, I've given you the seed-bearing fruits of the vine. I've given you the grasses of the field.
Right.
Make these your sustenance. And what are you going to do with the animals? You're going to take dominion. Take dominion over the animals. That means you're going to take care of them. Make sure they're safe. Right?
Yeah.
Make sure they're happy. You're going to take dominion like a parent would, And so even if we choose to consume an animal, I think that if we haven't, raised that animal in a way that it had its potential, to roam free, eat grass, not be fed chemicals or antibiotics or all these other things. So I don't judge how people choose to eat, but I want to encourage you to eat clean. I want to encourage you to eat as close to nature as you possibly can.
Right.
I want you to know that the energy of what you eat will become the energy of who you are. If some animal died frightened, scared, and diseased and full of chemicals, how are you going to die? Like, you are what you eat. So, I'm not saying you shouldn't or can't do anything. I'm saying whatever you do, do consciously. Whatever you do, know that it will have an impact on your body. I've been known to throw down a tequila or two.
Yeah.
I've never said, I say to health, but I'm not sure that's exactly what's happening, And I could convince myself that tequila is a probiotic. And I could convince myself that tequila is not a depressant. And I could convince myself all these ways why it's still tequila. It's still alcohol. It's still harming my liver. All right?
All right.
So I'm not in denial. I'm not perfect. I'm not. But I do live consciously. And if I do have that drink with tequila, I know that I'd better be doing something to protect my liver. I better be doing something to put oxygen back in my blood. I better be doing some counterbalancing. But unfortunately, when people fall into bad habits, they lead to other bad habits. And they lead to a lack of self-care. And so I'm going to share one thing with you, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
We have a broken healthcare system in America. This isn't about Obamacare or about anything. This is about people who are taxing doctor's offices. I see them lined up in the doctor's offices with conditions that would not have if they ate better. And I see people getting 6 months before they could see the doctor because that line in front of them of people who don't really need the doctor is so long. Now, is it the healthcare system? Is it the doctor? I don't blame either. I blame the person who put themselves in that line because they wouldn't keep up.
Wow.
And if you don't keep up, it's hard to be kept up. And that's why that line is so long, because so many people are not keeping up that they can't be kept up. And so what I want is for people who are ready to be responsible and to make conscious decisions and to look not 5 days or even 5 weeks or 5 months. Look 5 years, look 50 years into the future and ask yourself, how is this going to end? Is this going to end with me on the last 10 years of my life being in an old age home, wondering if someone's going to come and visit me? Am I going to be on 6 medications and not even know where I am? Am I going to be using a walker and not being able to play with my grandkids? Am I any longer going to be able to do the things that I love to do? My grandfather fathered a child at 72 years old.
Wow.
Right? So we are not living the lives we're supposed to. We're denying ourselves so many benefits that our Creator bestowed upon us, and that even the founders of this nation said, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If you're not well, are you having life? If you're stuck in a thankless job, do you have liberty? If you're medicated beyond belief, is that pursuing happiness? See, this isn't just about, ourselves. It's about that arc of history that we're leaving for our children.
Mm.
And if your children observe you doing something, they're going to imitate your behavior.
Oh, yeah.
So we have to be responsible enough to be better role models, but at that same time, the best form of healthcare is self-care. And if people took better care of themselves, our healthcare system would be abundantly wealthy, and people would be getting free services of everything they really needed. But it's all the people getting services for things they don't really need, clogging up our system, taxing the doctor's offices like I've never seen before.
And they're just putting a Band-Aid on the symptom. They don't get to the root cause ever.
No. You don't see a doctor say, well, I'm going to change this. I was talking to a doctor, and I said, you guys don't ever recommend exercise or a better diet, right? Or getting more sleep. He goes, oh, yes, we do. And you know what the people tell us? Don't you have a pill? He goes, we try. We're even taught to recommend that first, but every time we try, someone looks at us and says, are you crazy? I came here for a pill that's supposed to fix that.
Mm.
The problem is us.
Take accountability.
Yeah, and the doctor may be a mirror. The healthcare system may be a mirror, but what are they a mirror of? They're a mirror of us. Mm. So when we take better care of ourselves, we will be taken better care of by Creator, by the system, if that's what we want to use. I'm not part of that system. I'm just not.
Yeah.
I grow my own food, make my own medicine. I don't get jabs.
Hell no.
No.
Yeah, I got a ton growing up.
Am I allowed to say that?
No, you're good. With my kids, definitely none. We're going holistic all the way.
So Marin County, this is going to be really controversial, and I apologize, everybody. Marin County has a lot of rich people, but those rich people decided they didn't want their kids vaccinated.
Mm.
The only spot in the world that has declining autism rates is Marin County.
Wow.
Is anybody talking about that?
I haven't heard that.
Look it up.
Where is that? Is that in Cali?
Yeah, it's near San Francisco.
Nice. So the schools don't make the kids get them?
Either does the school district where I live, and I'm not saying where that is.
I love that. That's cool, man. I love what you said about keeping up. It reminded me of my dad, actually. He taught me how to keep up at a young age. We would go on these mile-long hikes, and he did not. And when I was young, elementary, middle school, he did not wait. I had to keep up. He didn't look back, So that was a powerful.
You're right on his heels, though, huh?
Powerful lesson. Now that you said that, yeah, he taught me at a very young age how to keep up.
Yeah, there's an old thing: you do sink or swim, but it's amazing how fast you learn to swim.
Yep.
When you start to sink. But if you, so I'm going to give an analogy that you might or might not relate to. My daughter is learning to swim. I grew up as a lifeguard, so I wanted to teach my daughter to swim right off the bat. Mm-hmm. My wife kept putting floaties on her and life vests on her. Well, now the other kids are already swimming on their own, and my daughter's still looking for her floaties because she doesn't trust herself. She got used to the subsidy. And so I don't mind giving people a hand up. I believe everybody deserves that. But when we start with too many handouts, that's when people become disenabled. So I am meeting people halfway. I will ship you the most powerful, potent superfoods on the planet directly to your doorstep at very affordable prices. But I can't make you eat them. I can't make you drink them. So I can only meet you halfway. So I have a law of 49s. And the law of 49 says, I can't want this for you, Sean, more than you want it for yourself. And for the people listening out there right now, and I know that there's a lot, Sean and I can't want this for you more than you want it for yourself. Like, when you're ready, I just want people to know, Sean, that we have solutions that are guaranteed, that are based on solid science, but completely come from nature.
Absolutely.
And we are suffering. I would say that most people, if you asked them, are you suffering, would say no at first. Then you asked them again, but seriously, they would say something else. You know, I personally had a massive tumor that I just had to have relieved because my testicular fluid wasn't flowing properly.
Wow.
I'm sure that it was a genetic thing that happened because of the chemicals my mom ate, you know? And so we all have to realize that everyone is suffering, you know? Everyone is suffering. And if we reach out and with compassion say, you know, I noticed this or I noticed that, you know, could I offer you a possible solution? We call that carefrontation. When you care enough to let somebody know that you see them suffering, and then you have a solution.
Love it. We'll link everything below, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Going to change some lives today, I believe.
Yeah, the pleasure's been mine. And bro, you must be so exhausted.
It's been a fun day, man. I got to learn from people like you. Thank you. Yep. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll link out Purium's products below. See you guys tomorrow.